Hi, I'm Jared.
And I'm David.
And this week on Hood Slappers, we're going to be reviewing the 2025 Chevrolet Equinox.
Don't forget to hit like and subscribe.
When I was a kid, when my family ever purchased a car, there was a high probability it was going to be a Chevrolet. We had the Astro minivan, the Venture minivan, another minivan, and another. Yet although the minivan was bought out of necessity, the brand we chose was fully intentional, and that brand was Chevrolet. But why?
Well, you can pick it apart all you want, but the real reason everyone went with Chevy back in the day is because of that one commercial and three simple words: like a rock.
Well, today we want to see if the all-new 2025 Chevrolet Equinox is, as they used to say, like a rock.
With the 2025 Chevy Equinox, we see that it has received a full model change from the interior to the exterior, completing the list of Chevy SUVs that have received a refresh within the last 2 years. Now that it's here, we think it's time for the rock test.
David?
What?
That's not what I meant by the rock test.
Oh.
Give me that thing. You know, you're gonna hurt someone with this?
My car!
What I mean by a rock test is, how does this compare with a rock? That might sound funny at first, but when you look at the characteristics of a rock, there are a lot of reasons why you would want similarities between what you drive and a rock itself. The first characteristics of the rock is that it's solid. How solid is the Equinox? Well, besides its visual appearance, with a more boxy design and an expanded width of 2.5 inches, how else can we see if the Equinox is as solid as a rock?
Well, for starters, Chevrolet has been in the automotive game since 1911. That's over 113 years, and it's still one of the world's leading brands, selling its lineup to over 140 countries across the globe. I didn't even know there were 140 countries in the world.
Well, speaking of countries, the Equinox changed production factories from only half an hour away from here down to Mexico. And some people will think this takes away from part of the solid build, but I would disagree. There are a lot of brands manufacturing their cars in Mexico.
Volkswagen's been doing it since the 60s.
Nissan, they've been there forever too.
I've even been to Mexico twice myself.
Huh. Well, that seems pretty watertight to me, but if you still have your doubts, then consider this. Last year, the Equinox was rated #1 in terms of long-term dependability. They were also ranked #1 in terms of new vehicle quality.
Yeah, there's no doubt consumers love the Equinox. It is Chevrolet's #2 selling vehicle, and there's no wonder that a Chevrolet gets sold every 6.3 seconds.
Another satisfied customer, David.
Do you think he went with the undercoating?
So, like a rock, the Equinox still seems very solid. So what about selection? Anyone who's studied rocks knows two facts. #1, they are an absolute loner. And #2, there are many different types of rocks.
There are over 5,000 different trim levels on the new Equinox.
David, no, there's 5,000 different kinds of rocks. There's only 3 different trim levels on the Equinox.
Oh, right. Yeah. And those levels are igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic.
David, those are rocks again. The trim levels are LT, Active, and RS. But what I'd like to say about the Equinox is that you can really make it your own. Although it looks like the Blazer and the Traverse, with the Equinox there are many different packages you can add, even to the LT front-wheel drive that we have here.
The LT will offer either two-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, 6 colors to choose from, including green, red, and blue, 3 different wheel options, 3 different interior colors, and if you want more to your LT, you even have 3 packages available to add. And the starting price for the Equinox is only $35,433.
Now, to put that into context, that's only $2,000 more than a Honda Civic hatch. And that means either the Honda is overpriced or the Equinox is underpriced. What do you think, viewers? Let us know in the comments what you think of the Equinox so far.
So what else can we say about a rock and the Equinox? We know it's solid, it has selection, but how else is it like a rock?
Well, David, in this case, it's smooth. Powered by a 1.5-liter turbo, the 2025 Chevrolet Equinox provides its drivers with 175 horsepower and 184 pounds of torque. This is carried over by a CVT transmission. Now, if CVT is a 4-letter word in your household, rest assured, if you get any all-wheel drive model, that will come standard with an 8-speed automatic gearbox. And you pair that with a rear independent suspension that we have here, then you certainly have a smooth ride.
Wait a minute, CVT is not a 4-letter word, I don't think. In fact, I don't even think that's a word at all.
Very smooth, David. Well, we've seen the Equinox is solid, has selection, and is smooth. Why don't we take it for a drive and confirm all those things? Well, David, here we are in the 2025 Chevrolet Equinox. What are your first impressions?
The very first impression I have, because it's the first time I've ever seen it before, is this super cool backwards camera in the windshield. How cool is that?
That is, as a matter of fact, that's not only just a camera, but I can clean it.
Ooh,
Yeah.
We're in the future. I feel like I'm on Star Trek right now.
You think they had one of these in Star Trek?
Yeah. Just
Captain.
slightly bigger, slightly bigger. I also like too, when you turn on the car, this huge, I had the Chevrolet animated logo. I felt like I was in a movie theater.
I was,
right away.
yeah. I mean, I'd probably walk out of the movie because there was no sound or anything like that. But yeah, it's all these manufacturers got these little funky things that pop up on their, well, most of them pop up on their screen before you turn on the car. Gets you in the spirit of driving.
Mm-hmm. What about you? What are your first impressions?
I like it. You know, it's, I'll say it, it's very familiar with a couple cars we've driven. I mean, the Prologue we just did. A lot of the layout's the same as the Prologue. We did the Blazer as well. There's some similarities to it, but it's still, I like those cars, so I like this as well.
Another similarity to the Blazer too is these crazy jet-powered
Yes, those are,
fans.
that's
Look
your
at it.
turbo
It
boost.
looks like the engines on an airplane on the side.
It does actually. We made reference to that in our Blazer review, which you can watch here or here. It's in one of these areas, so you can click on that and watch our Blazer review. But yeah, we made mention of those, so we won't talk about them again because we made a really hilarious joke in the last one.
So, what do you think the price-wise you're a fan of, starting off at $35,433?
Yeah, you know what? It is super cheap. To me, that seems like a cheap car. I was talking to one of the sales reps at Barry Collins Chevrolet, where we got this car from, and I said, "Tell me about it. What can I tell people online?" And she says, "Basically, I'm selling them because where else can you get a vehicle equipped like this for that amount of money?" And it's a selling proposition.
Mm-hmm. And then if you wanted to upgrade to the RS trim, it would just cost you to come down to like $45,532.
Yeah, which even still, that's not bad for a top trim vehicle. And of course, with Chevrolet, you can add your options and features, right? So this is an LT, it's a front wheel drive, this is as base as you can get. But then we have the connectivity package, which is, you mentioned the mirror. We also have the, I think it's a midnight package, it's a black package for aesthetics. So it's black mirror caps, we get the black roof. As a matter of fact, David, I noticed you kind of are dressed up a little bit like the Equinox.
Yeah,
you got your black and your red. You come to represent.
Yeah. But if you wanted to upgrade to the RS trim, it would set you back $42,532.
Which is still, for a fully designed, fully trimmed out car, that's very good.
Speaking of safety packages too, do you still have any more rocks on you? Oh, I'd like to know that.
I'm all rocked out.
Okay, rocked out. Okay.
I'm too old to rock.
Too old to rock. Speaking of, were you old enough to have a pet rock? Remember those?
I never had a pet rock.
No?
I think maybe I joked about pretending it was, but an official pet rock,
Official.
no.
How, can you still buy them? How much should a pet rock go for these days, do you think?
I don't know.
Less than 35.
I wouldn't pay much for a pet rock these
I'm
days.
looking it up right now. I'm looking it up right now.
How much is it? I'm going to guess. Everything's so expensive these days. I'm going to guess, yeah, $30 to $40 for a pet rock.
I can get you a pet rock delivered to your home for $14.99. I can have it there in 3 days.
See, that's actually pretty good. That's much like the Equinox. That's pretty good value.
To be honest, I will sell you one for $5 right now. I'll get you a better one.
But it's got to have
undercut the competition.
It's got to have the eyes on it and everything. And I want the box.
I never had the pet rock. I did have the Tamagotchi. That's what I had.
Those little egg things you had to feed it. Yeah, those were huge. There's an older Equinox right there. He's checking us out. Oh, he's checking this one out.
Do you have to? Is there an Equinox wave you have to do to each other?
See, I didn't. Nobody told me about a wave, so.
Is it the Equinox, the E?
Yeah.
Did you know the gang sign for West Edmonton Mall
No.
is West Edmonton Mall?
Is that seriously?
Yeah, West Edmonton Mall. West Edmonton Mall.
Why would you gang sign
There's
West
a lot of
Edmonton
gangsters
Mall?
down at the mall, patrolling the water park, the mini
Yeah.
park,
I'm going to get a hat at lids at the West Edmonton Mall.
So back to this. Are you feeling like a gangster right now? You feel tough in this thing?
I don't actually. I feel the opposite because when I think of the Equinox, I think the second generation. I think it was the second generation Equinox where every old person had one and it was beige or it was silver. But this is not that Equinox. This is a nice Equinox.
Except it probably wasn't called beige. It was probably called like desert camel or something.
Hearing aid beige.
Yeah.
That's what I would call it. But
how is it to drive?
it's actually quite nice to drive. Like I said, this is the CVT. You know what? It is what it is. I don't mind it at all. But if you did want an 8-speed automatic gearbox, you can go any all-wheel drive model, and it will give you that. But when you go with the CVT, the LT front-wheel drive, you will not get various drive modes. You'll get a low drive mode, but that's about it. You're not going to get the snow or the off-road or anything like that. So note that if you do go for a front-wheel drive.
Noted. I like the big entertainment system here, so we want to listen to some Bob Seger.
Yeah. I mean, this is an entry-level car, but I have this. This shouldn't be this big.
Yeah.
This screen shouldn't be this big. It doesn't make sense that all that for the low price of whatever you said earlier.
$35,433.
And all three of those packages come to, I think it's $4,300. One's $2,000, one's $13,000, one's just $1,000. And if I did my math correct, that's about $4,300, and that's not much to get all this stuff. I don't feel like I'm in a base car.
So the Equinox is actually late to the game, was it not, compared to the rival cars?
Yeah. I think the CRV was, I want to say 97. The RAV4 was, I think, shortly after that. But the Equinox, I think, was like 5 years after all those guys came out. So it was certainly late to the game. But I don't think that really stopped it from being successful, because, like I said, it's the number 2 next to the Silverado. It's a number 2 selling Chevrolet.
So, and obviously, Consumer Reports say that people are a big fan of it. But I've read in some forums, one complaint that people have is how they've made the car bigger and heavier, but they've kept the 1.5 liter engine.
It has a turbo, but it's still a small engine, no matter what way you look at it. It's like a Taos is a 1.5 liter, the Volkswagen Taos. The Jetta is a 1.5, the Honda Civic turbo is a 1.5. So it is small, but it can still tow 1,500 pounds. It still has 175 horsepower.
So I know you like the car a lot, and there's a lot of positives about it. There is a con, though, I think I noticed you checking out before, with the trunk space.
The trunk is, and it's not just it's smaller in terms of liters, but it's noticeably smaller when you look at it. Open the trunk. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. It's still a trunk. It still holds things. How much space do you need? I think it's just over 17. I want to say 1,735 liters, which is still great. I mean, that's a decent trunk, but it does pale in comparison to some of the contenders. I think the CRV is one of the best at like 22 liters, or 21, something like that. But it is smaller than a lot of its competitors.
For this price point, no, you can't really argue too much with
I'll
that
take
game.
a smaller trunk. Mm-hmm. I don't need the doors.
Yeah.
Well, we started today asking if Chevy can claim that this Equinox is indeed like a rock. We discovered the Equinox is solid, has massive selection, and is very smooth. So it's no wonder after 4 generations of the Equinox is Chevy's number 2 selling vehicle. And the number one thing I took away from today is the value of the dollar on this car. Because much like the vehicle's name itself, it makes 0 sense. So if you're in the market for a smaller SUV and haven't driven a Chevy since you were a kid like myself, maybe it's time you should consider the Chevrolet Equinox, like a rock. So with that, I give the 2025 Chevrolet Equinox my hood slap of approval.
Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you again next time. Hey, by the way, who's paying for my window?
What? Oh, relax, David. It's just a window. Sorry, David.
That wasn't I moved my car.
Well, whose car is that? A big thanks goes to our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet for letting us use this 2025 Chevrolet Equinox. If you're in the market for one of these, go see them at 905 Woodlawn Road in Guelph, Ontario.